Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to Gelvin Valley Farming Simulator 15. Wonderful map created by Wild Wes. And maybe before I take another step, I need to set the old timer. Because I can never keep track of this all on my own. There it is, here at tick. It's this cute little cow timer that Atomic 67 gave me to help keep me straight. Coming down this beautiful map, Gelvin Valley, created by Wild Wes, Farming Simulator 15. It's still kind of a little bit at night in game, and I know this is an old game now, and a lot of people have moved on, but I hope what I've shown over 100 episodes in here, that even though this is, an old game now. Am I supposed to come up here? I think I am. Oh, wait a minute, maybe not. Yeah, I don't want to go down that way. Even though this is an old game, I don't care who you are, this is a wonderful map. And that's why I continue to play it. I really enjoyed it the first time, I saw it, and have wanted to come back to it and did here, just to share it. A lot of these maps, they were made in a particular version of Farming Sim, and they weren't always carried over to the next version. This one here, I believe, started in Farm Sim 13. We're kind of taking a back road here to get up to field number 43. I mean, this is part of what I just love about this, where it's just loaded with detail, and here we are heading kind of out into the brush, following this little trail to get up to a field, kind of taking a windy circuit to get up there. So I am still very much enjoying it, and maybe, I don't know who watches this, what your gateway point was to Farming Sim, the franchise. Maybe it wasn't 15, but if you have any ounce of sentimentalism in you, you'll probably remember especially the first version of the game that you did, and it'll always hold a special place in the old heart. So I know this one does here for me. I guess I'm hitting the fence. Yeah, I got a little close to the edge with the plow, so now I'm fighting with the fence on every. We're actually right at the edge of the map, and I still can't believe how good that looks, even though it's a sheer drop-off over there. It just kind of gives the impression of being on a high plateau, if you will. Wow, it's steep as all get out. This was a grass field, kind of a Stonehenge field, if you will. Probably intended to stay grass, and it's because I enjoy arable so much is the reason I plowed it under and have continued to try to grow a crop on it. But it's maybe not the best field for that, as we see. But we'll make it through. Planting a lot of barley. I'm going to tangle the fence again. Maybe not. Maybe I'm staying away from it here. I think my tractor is underpowered. This planter is kind of pushing me around. Yeah, here it's kind of hard to suspend reality. You see all those trees over there planted in thin air. Well, course, that isn't right, but I think it was intended that you would see him kind of from a distance and not maybe be this up close with them. I'm not sure what he had intended for this particular field. Maybe it was to make hay, uh, maybe to just go visit the Stonehenge kind of at the top of the hill. I really don't know. But I enjoy it here because this is the last version of Farming Sim that it was available. He made it in Farm Sim 13 and updated it to Farm Sim 15. Uh, but I haven't seen or heard from Wild Wild West since then, so I think he's like so many guys, whether it was an interest at the time, just wasn't enough to captivate him to continue doing it in future versions. Maybe he got bored of it, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting study, actually, as you look at the franchise and the history of it to see. Oops, sorry, I can't do that. Gotta plan every square inch. But to see what modders have done and who has carried their map over kind of the most, if you will, there might even be a few maps that have come forward all the way from Farm Sim '09, maybe even '08, all the way to 22. One map I know that someone has done is the original Giants Island. Anybody that's played Farm Sim '09 knows that it was the original map that they had was kind of set on an island, which made it pretty easy for visuals. The island was surrounded by water, and that kind of made it easier. You didn't have as much work on the edge of the map, when you do that. It isn't like what Wild Wild West would have had to try to do in here, where you see the edge kind of coming over there. And it takes a lot of modding skill to fool the player into believing that the map just keeps going and going when you know that it doesn't. But if you have it on an island, that makes it pretty easy to achieve that. So, I'll put all that to say that the Giants Island is one of those maps that I think has been brought forward through all successive versions. I think possibly even all the way to Farm Sim 22. So some energetic modder, maybe it's different modders, for all I know, that have done it each time. But a lot of times a map like this, and I don't remember where in the Farm Sim 15 life cycle that it came out, but if it comes out too late and players are moving on to the next version, there are some players that the moment the new version comes, first thing they do is they uninstall the previous version and get rid of it, delete their mods, whatever. And I don't know, that's just not me. I can't do that. I tend to, maybe I'm too much of a packer at just keep all of them. But what it means is a lot of times these gems of mods and maps, they kind of just get lost to history, if you will, and nobody has them anymore. Well, you can get them on the internet or whatever. I know I've tried to link up the mods that I'm using in here, but you just don't see them anymore. And with the amount of time and effort and work that it takes to produce them, that's kind of a shame. So, and I realize, the modders, they're doing it for their own enjoyment and fun. They aren't necessarily expecting someone to keep them alive or going for ages and ages. But I still think it's a beautiful map, and I do wonder sometimes what it would take to bring it forward, clear even into 22. It'd be interesting to see that newer functionality, and because the game has improved over time too, and just to see that, see this map kind of in that new context. So that's kind of why I keep playing with it and fiddle with the map. I know a couple episodes ago I showed how I added another another stream, if you will, only when it's raining. You know, when it rains and it kind of rises up, and for a while will be running off the hillside, kind of like it would in real life, but it's a dry wash. So I don't know, and I figure it isn't wasted time because I mean it isn't something I'm going to release if the map author was still around, and you know, maybe I could talk to him and say, hey, you know, there's a number of improvements and things I put in here, should we release this, you know, then to get permissions and that kind of thing. But otherwise, most of it I just do for my own kicks, and learn a little in the process of doing it, modding technique. Even on these older games, you still can learn something in there, so it isn't all lost. So I'd be curious in the comments, you know, I mentioned like Giants Island. I'm pretty sure that has gone through about every iteration of the Farm Sim franchise. Are there other maps that you're aware of? You know, what's the longest lived map, if you will, that you're aware of in this franchise that you either played or that you've heard of? I don't know why, but that's always been a curiosity to me. You know, back in the Farm Sim 15 era, I know another popular map was like Coldborough Park Farms, and I think that one also started in Farm Sim 13. But I remember when it was coming out for 15, it was released on FSU UK, a site that no longer exists. I still miss it. It was a great site to talk about the game and learn modding. And they had a mechanism for testing apps, and I remember there was a ton of excitement as people were waiting for this map, and it was extremely popular, getting it sent out there. And then later, I think it was updated to Farm Sim 17, so it went from 13 to 17. I don't know that it went to 19, I could be mistaken, but I don't think it went to 19 unless it was a bootleg copy, an unauthorized version, if you will. You know, and you're always going to have some of that. Unfortunately, some people just want the end result, and there isn't always respect for the person who built it in the first place. And really, a lot of times, it's like so much in real life. It is much more difficult to build something from scratch, the creative effort it takes to do that, versus, say, updating something existing, tweaking something existing. I mean, you know, admittedly, the work that I did in here on adding a dry wash, you know, I had to do a little work writing a script, but I'm building it on top of Wild Wes's effort. Nowhere near the same amount of creative effort it would take to make a map like this to begin with. But anyway, what apps are you aware of that have had long lives in the franchise? I'd be curious to know in the comments if you have any. Otherwise, we are just busy planting our field and getting ready for our next harvest. Time that I'm recording here, it's actually pretty early in the morning. A lot of times that's the only time I can get away at home here. You know, there's lots of busyness going on in the house, and it helps to have a quiet house and no distractions to record these. But it's Labor Day of 23. As I record this here. Oh, ring around the rosy. A little close. Wouldn't want to nick that rock in real life. just take a circuit around this. Probably would never in a million years let you plant this close to Stonehenge in real life. But we are. We can do it in here. So it's Labor Day, so this particular year, what does that make it? September 4th, I believe? September 4th, 23. And just, yeah, I guess there's a number of memories that come to mind. September 3rd, which is what Sunday was. Maybe some of you remember the episode, maybe you don't. But a year ago, it's amazing how fast a year goes by, but we lost our family dog, one of them, through sheer accident. Got run over by a pickup truck coming through our property, and I still, even after a year, I still miss the dog that we had. She was just a gem. And, you know, somewhere in there, I think it was September when we lost her. At Christmas, you know, it's a number of months later, we got another puppy, just a little one, and she's now a big dog. I think she's a chocolate lab. I can't remember if I've talked about her much in here. Kind of like they say, not a replacement for the other. Each dog, animal, person, I don't care what it is, they all seem to have their own personality, and so not a replacement, you know, a new pet, if you will. And she's an overgrown dope and going through the puppy stage right now, basically doing everything but eat the house. Just a destructive thing. She recently discovered the garbage can and has delighted herself in overturning it and spreading trash all over creation. So, and I'm not very good at animal behavior to know how to train her not to do that. I know what we tried on a previous dog, one that we had years ago, and I'm not even sure I'm going to share what I did because someone might complain about it. Let's just say certain methods were used to get the point across to the dog, and I gotta say it was effective because the can was never again turned over. So the dog, I think, got the message, but some of the things you gotta do to get that message across aren't always fun to have to do. So we got the act going, and so, like I say, it's late at night, but I know I can sleep in tomorrow. Labor Day's day off, at least in our country. I don't know how it is. I don't know if Labor Day is an international thing or not, but I know here in the U.S. we'll get today, it already is today, off. So plan to use the day to clean up some things around here and actually do some work in, you know, where I record these is in our home. And we don't have a large home, but we actually, my wife and I, we never really have had a garage that we use for vehicles. We've always had enough stuff that we needed a place to store it, and so a lot of times that's in the garage. And so quite a number of years ago, we took over the garage, we put in a wall to create a pantry, and the rest of it, we put carpet down, and I have a desk out here. And when I work from home, this is where I do it, where I record these episodes. And otherwise, I look around me, that I got bookshelves. Always wanted to have an in-home library. This is kind of where it is. And the rest of the room is kind of a dumping ground for whatever's in the house, and my wife doesn't want people to see when they come over. So yeah, I'm kind of telling on her I shouldn't do that here, but I don't know that we're probably not that unusual from anybody else. You know, when you get invited to go somewhere and everything looks spick and span and clean, and say, my, these people have everything put together, and it's like, well, just don't look in the back room, or maybe they chucked everything just before you came to kind of clean things up. So tomorrow I think we're going to go through this room and try to do some work in it. You know, one of the things I've done in recording these episodes, and I really don't like doing, is the microphone that I speak into is literally sitting on the desk, and its mics are pretty sensitive, so wouldn't want to accidentally damage the thing because they're expensive. And what I really need to do is get it set up on a boom so that it's kind of hanging over the desk, if you will, and just kind of off of the clutter and independently kind of held up. And I need a new desk in here to do it, and I have one coming, but we just need to take time to kind of go through the room and get it all set up proper to do that. And it feels like I'm planting this on ice, slipping and sliding around, I think because I'm a little bit underpowered on this tractor and planting. I think in real life I'd be spinning my tires and tearing out the crop even as I'm planting it, but oh well, it won't do that in the game. This coming week is also the week here in the U.S., at least in our area, where general school system starts back up. So we have one kid still in school, so he's going to be heading off, which I know he knows, and I'm sure he's very thrilled about. So that's the thing you never know as a kid, and I know adults would say it to me about, you know, oh, you enjoy these years, there'll be the day you wish you could go back to school because of stress and whatever. And it's generally true, although I think most of us wouldn't, given a choice, I don't think we would go back and literally go to school again. But I think most of us remember and appreciate just how truly carefree a lot of those days were, assuming we came, you know, from a good home or whatever. I know there's always situations, you know, where things aren't optimum, and but I think for a good lot of us, those are pretty good days. And adulting sometimes is hard, and you look back and say, you know what, school wasn't so bad. And I think a lot of it is just a big an act anyhow. You know, the kids will make a show of not wanting to go back, but they really do. That's where their friends are and where they can be with them. So I think a lot of that is just a bunch of hot air, pretending they don't like being there. We have planted Stonehenge, and off we go to, let's see, we're going to head up the hill. Turn on my indicators. Heading to 41, just a small little field. I'm trying to knock that one out. Climb the steep hill here. So school's starting up, and oh boy, I don't know how much to say about this, but I have a feeling most of the people who listen to this are more of a mature crowd, if you will, meaning they're geezers, kind of like I am. maybe not. It'd be interesting to take a poll. I guess I really don't know. I know about a couple people who listen to this based on who comments, and most people that listen to a video never leave a comment, which is fine. I mean, I don't care one way or the other. Um, but it would be interesting to know what your age is, and kind of as of the date I'm recording this, I'm 49. And still playing a silly game and enjoying it. How old are you? But the reason I bring that up is let's see, what was it, Friday? I went through what is typically, I think, a rite of passage, if you will, for men, maybe women too, when they reach the age of 50, or that's kind of how it used to be. When you reach the ripe old age of 50, for cancer prevention and some of those kinds of things, you would go get what is called a colonoscopy. And probably anybody hearing that word instantly contracts certain muscles in their body just involuntarily, as the idea of going through that just isn't comfortable. And I knew it was coming, and it seemed like I was a young man once, and then I blinked, and now I'm old. And I since have heard that they recommend doing it sooner than age 50. So, but it took me a while to get it on the docket, if you will, in the healthcare system here. But finally, after much to do and waiting, last Friday was a big day. And I'll just be honest with you, I never have liked going to the doctor. I don't know very many men who do. I don't know if that's a guy thing. Women seem to take better care of themselves a lot of times than men do. And most of us, I think, we don't want to go to the doctor because he's just going to give us bad news, and who wants to hear bad news, right? So we don't even go and take care of ourselves like we should. And this maybe is one of those things that you just kind of got to do. And actually, I mean, it was at the hospital, was kind of where the clinic was. So there's always some risk, when you get put under, which they did for me. They put me under. I think I've heard that you could choose to stay awake if you want to hear what's going on, but I chose just be put under. Well, I say chose. I don't know if they really gave me a choice, but I probably could have chosen to stay awake. But I was told the worst part would be the prep, and I was thinking, no, I think the worst part is going to be when they jab me with a needle and put in that IV. I don't like needles. I don't like getting poked. But in retrospect, now past the procedure, I think people were right. I think the prep was the worst part. I mean, they make you fast for a day, so you can't have anything to eat for a whole day. I mean, that is just torture. I had a business meeting at work that was going to be in a restaurant. It was a late breakfast, and so I had to go to the thing with several other guys, watch them take down a beautiful looking breakfast, and all I could do was sit there and salivate and drink more water because I wasn't supposed to eat anything on account of this procedure coming. And then I had to go home early so you could start the, quote, clean out. And I think it was worse years ago. They'd make you drink this nasty stuff, like a gallon of it or something. And I think some things have improved on that. This stuff here, I didn't have a huge quantity to drink. A lot of water they wanted you to take with it. But brother, is it effective, basically to help you evacuate anything and everything that's inside. and it works. And once the train starts, it keeps on a going, and between you and me and the fence post, I don't know that I've ever parked on the can for that long in my life. And they want you to do it twice, so once at 4 o'clock, once at 11, and that's all I'm going to say about that. I mean, you can imagine the details your own self, and then I had the procedure at pretty early the following morning, so I was in at the clinic on the hospital grounds. Up there goes a timer, 6:30 in the morning, and answered some more of their silly questions and got prepped. And you know, in that environment, given what they're going to do, there is no such thing as modesty. They at least give you a gown to put on, kind of, and you know, I think it's one of the only times in my life, you know, all these people were doing various parts of it. One guy finally, I think it was the anesthesiologist, he wheeled me into the room on the gurney, and, you know, I just told him, I said, I don't know that I've ever gotten a ride on one of these things. Of course, I mean, to him that probably was old hat, so I probably sounded like an idiot just saying that to him, but by then the IV was in, and when they were ready, he, I think it was just with a syringe, put some of the sauce in and told me to take deep breaths. I think I did 2 of them, and I was out like a light. And I know some people told me it's the best nap you'll ever take in your life, and sure thing. I mean, yeah, I don't remember anything. I don't have any pain, no nothing from it. So whatever they did, I think I was out for the procedure. It took maybe an hour and a half. I don't remember exactly the time, and you know, I felt a little bit groggy coming out of it, but otherwise none worse for the wear, and came home, and that was that. And then hopefully there's no bad news coming as a result of it all. So I know they do that ad for cancer prevention, and there's a lot of things that are preventable in life if you know about them. And kind of like I said earlier, it isn't a guy's nature a lot of times to want to learn those things. We don't want to go to the doctor because he's going to tell us bad news, and he's going to poke us to tell us, and then he's going to send us a big bill. So not always something we just want to willingly put ourselves through, but probably important. And I'm just thankful to be married to a nurse who knows kind of the medical system and helps me deal with some of these things. That part of our relationship, I really lean hard on her, and I appreciate her expertise on that. So anyway, we are leaving off in the middle of field number 41, still continuing our planting, and I'm going to leave the episode there. Thank you so much for coming along. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye for now.